A record number of Americans are dipping into their 401k just to stay afloat. With rising costs and unexpected emergencies, a lot of people are being forced to make a difficult decision. Should I drain my retirement account now and pay the price later? Or keep my head down, keep working in the hopes that everything will turn out just right? Well, today we're going to be breaking down the hardship withdrawal, how do you qualify, the financial impacts, and some potential alternatives you may have not thought of. Let's go. Before the pandemic, the average percentage of hardship withdrawals for Americans was 2% a year. And as of 2024, it was a record 4.8%. More and more Americans are feeling the squeeze and are turning to their retirement accounts as a last resort. They don't want to. They know that their actions will have long-lasting consequences, but life is not always fair. Let's take a step back to understand why so many Americans are making this decision. Over the last few years, things are getting more and more expensive, and many people simply just can't afford the new prices. Inflation has been crazy, many people are losing their jobs, rents and mortgage rates have gone up, and healthcare and insurance have exploded. To manage all of these changes at once, not to mention the occasional medical emergency or car repair, it becomes very clear why so many Americans are strapped for cash and emptying their retirement accounts. Now, the numbers vary, but recent reports say that between 20 and 40% of Americans don't have an emergency fund. And we've talked about them extensively on this channel before. They are a very powerful tool to have in your tool belt. So if you haven't watched that video, I highly recommend you watch it. In short, an emergency fund is money set aside to cover 3 to 6 months worth of expenses. It is by no means a luxury. It is a financial safety net that prevents people from going into debt or making desperate financial decisions, like pulling from their 401k. But with wages struggling to keep up with rising costs, many Americans haven't had the opportunity to build one. Not everybody can tap into their 401k when they're strapped for cash. The IRS actually has some pretty strict rules as what qualifies for a hardship. According to the IRS, for a distribution for a 401k plan to be considered a hardship, it must be made because of an immediate and heavy financial need and limited to the amount necessary to satisfy that financial need. The 401k participant gets taxed on the cash withdrawn. It is subject to income tax, and the money is not paid back into the account. Some examples that the IRS allows for hardship withdrawals are as followed. Unreimbursed medical expenses for you, your spouse, or dependents. Purchase of an employee's principal residence. Payment of college tuition and related educational costs such as room and board for the next 12 months for you, your spouse, dependents, or children who are no longer dependents. Payments necessary to prevent eviction of you from your home or foreclosure on a mortgage of your principal residence. For funeral expenses. And certain expenses for the repair of damage to the employee's principal residence. Keep in mind that there's going to be a lot of paperwork involved if you decide to go down this route. Furthermore, even if you have an IRS-approved reason, your plan is not required to actually distribute the funds. They may actually require even more paperwork to prove your situation, like foreclosure notices and medical bills. Okay, so let's say you've decided to do a 401k withdrawal and your reason has been approved. So, how much money are you going to get? Well, in normal circumstances, the IRS says that you will have to pay an income tax on the withdrawn funds and pay an additional 10% tax for early withdrawal. However, hardship withdrawals are considered an authorized withdrawal, so the penalty is waived, which just leaves the income tax. That means if you're withdrawing $10,000 and you're the 22% tax bracket, you'll owe $2,200 in taxes, leaving you with $7,800. But the real cost isn't just the taxes. It's the money you're losing in the long run. If that $10,000 had stayed in your 401k and had grown at an average 7% annual return, in 20 years it could have been worth roughly $40,000. Now that's a huge hit to your future retirement savings. So while a hardship withdrawal might solve your short-term problem, it can create an even bigger one down the road. Now before you decide to withdraw from your 401k, please consider these options. A 401k loan. Now this allows you to borrow money from your retirement account, and in most cases, you will have to pay back the money plus interest within 5 years. Now this is great because you don't have to pay taxes and penalties, plus the interest goes back into your retirement account. Also something to note, if you leave your current job, you may have to pay back the loan in full in a short period of time. Also, if you're unable to repay the loan, it will be considered default, and you will owe the income taxes and penalty on the remaining balance. Borrowing from a friend or family. Yes, I understand many people are going to have an issue with this one, but it's a legitimate option. If you're in a pinch and someone is willing to help you, this can be a short-term solution. Just be very clear on the repayment terms to avoid any unnecessary problems. Side hustle or extra work. taking on more debt or withdrawing from your retirement account should be a last resort. Consider working part-time or on weekends, selling unused items around the house, or even seeing if you can get some overtime at work. Anything you can do to earn a few extra $100 a month can seriously help. 401k hardship withdrawals may seem like an easy solution to your problem, but it comes with a steep cost. The potential penalties and taxes and lost compound interest over time may put you in a worse financial situation down the road. So let me know in the comments down below any alternatives you may have, and until then, I'm Evan, and thanks for watching. If you liked what you just saw, then click on the video here. Also, if you haven't, like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any future videos.